Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler and today I want to talk about Dungeons and Dragons. Today's topic is not the werewolf. I'm actually going to talk about a completely different monster, much to your surprise I would imagine, because you probably see an image and that looks like a werewolf to you. I'm actually talking about the Wolfwere, which is a slightly different monster. It's been around for a long time. It actually goes right back to advanced Dungeons and Dragons, and it's the sort of thing that you could include into any campaign if you want a horror element, or you want a werewolf. Instead, you could replace it with a Wolfwere. Or if you're running, say, a Ravenloft campaign, or you're running some sort of campaign, say, with the Curse of Strahd. Like, there's lots of different options, correct? So what I thought I would do is I would cover the basics for this monster, since I imagine a few of you are probably not familiar with this creature. It's probably new to you, and others, I suspect, know a lot about this. So the Wolfwere is an evil and hateful creature that delights in the brutal slaying of humans and humanoids, essentially humanoids. The Wolfwere is able to attack their victim with utter surprise. Now, the reason this occurs is because their ability to assume the shape of a humanoid. Now, you might be thinking, what do you mean? I don't understand. Well, yes, they can appear as a human or a humanoid, and they usually appear of exceptional beauty, and they have a very high charisma. So they really do sort of dupe you, okay? They're like the worst type of salesperson you can imagine. The Wolfwere is able to transform into a variety of shapes at will, and that can be done in a matter of seconds. So you don't really see this long process of transformation that a werewolf might have. The Wolfwere's true form is actually a large wolf, an unusual large wolf, that is, and it actually prefers to spend the vast majority of its time in the form of a large wolf. When in the wolf state, that Wolfwere is almost indistinguishable from a direwolf. Now, a direwolf is usually a fairly large, more vicious form of the common wolf. While a werewolf, while a Wolfwere is attempting to lure its victim into an ambush, it will assume the victim's race and also the opposite sex. So a Wolfwere would stalk a male elf. It will then transform itself into a female elf to allure that male elf to it. Now, how does it look in combat in terms of the Wolfwere? It's actually a very strange monster with regard to combat. The Wolfwere is sly. It's a dangerous adversary. In addition to its great fury and fighting prowess, it's highly intelligent. And you can't overlook the fact that it is highly intelligent, and it should never be underestimated. When a Wolfwere first spots its unsuspecting humanoid, or any kind of humanoid in its territory, it will change into its full humanoid form. So in other words, it will disguise itself. So it will give itself the guise of a pilgrim, a minstrel, or similar wanderer. The Wolfwere will normally carry some form of stringed instrument, which it seems to sort of absently mindedly play or strum while it's travelling. Now, this could be a lute, a guitar, whatever you want, but it's a stringed instrument of some kind. The problem with this is the true nature of the Wolfwere's song, even though it seems sort of just casual, however, it's very terrible in its nature, because what it's trying to do is actually create magical lethargy. Like you slow down, you start getting sleepy. So it's actually affecting you at a magical level. The effect of this magical enchantment is kind of like the same as the slowed spell in Dungeons and Dragons. So once this magical song begins, it cannot be countered. There's no way to counter it. And it lasts for about half a minute or 30 seconds. When a Wolfwere is ready to attack, it will transform into its half-wolf or half-human hybrid, so that basically it has more options available to it. The Wolfwere will almost always change into its hybrid form when engaging in combat, and this is because it can use its ability to bite, as a wolf, because it's partially a wolf in wolf form, and also it can wield a weapon of some type in any form, but it's fully human or say elf form or human form. The Wolfwere can deliver savage bite attacks with its powerful jaw, which is why it likes its hybrid form. The Wolfwere prefers to employ that bite over claws and weapons generally. When the Wolfwere is in its humanoid form or half-human state, it is always going to be carrying or employing some sort of weapon if it can, because that gives it the greatest benefit. Although the exact type of weapon used will usually depend on the specific tastes of the creature you encounter, the Wolfwere tends to pick things like an axe, a sword, or similar cutting weapons or edges. If the Wolfwere is forced to engage in a battle while in its humanoid form, say it's disguised itself as a human or an elf or a dwarf or something like that, it's going to it's not going to have to rely solely on its weapons, right? And it doesn't like to do that. It likes the idea of using its weapons to attack and for defense, but it wants that other option, which is that bite as well. So in such cases, the Wolfwere normally seeks to escape and will then transform into its hybrid form, which it can do very quickly, and then return to the battle. The magical nature of the Wolfwere makes it immune to damage inflicted by any weapon which is not made by cold wrought iron, which is a special type of iron, or an enchanted blade or weapon. All mundane weapons are simply turned aside by the creature's hide, which means it's completely immune. Now, you might have noticed I've mentioned nothing about silver, and that's because silver does not affect the Wolfwere, which is problematic because usually when you come across a creature that looks so much like a werewolf, you would assume that you would be using a silvered weapon, and that's not going to help you in this case. It is possible to protect some of yourself from the attack from a Wolfwere by wearing wolfsbane or eating it or having it on your person, because usually the Wolfwere will avoid the wolfsbane plant if possible or wherever possible. Now, the habitat and society of a Wolfwere is pretty basic. The Wolfwere is generally found as in a solitary environment. It doesn't usually run with a pack. And so you will find it sort of separated from everything else because it's so strange in its nature. When you encounter it in the wild, it is rare that more than 3 of these creatures will be found. It would be unusual for that to occur. And in most cases, if you do find more than one Wolfwere or encounter more than one Wolfwere, it will be because there is a mated pair, or there is a group which have decided to work together to increase the success of their hunt. But that is a very rare occasion. Right, the ecology of the Wolfwere. There's a 75% chance that any encounter with a Wolfwere will be having it run with a pack of wild wolves or wargs. And then in most cases, you'll find that the influence of the Wolfwere will make the creatures far more vicious and evil than they might normally be. So when you do come across a Wolfwere, there's a chance that they might be running with common wolves or wargs, which is a different type of wolf. Despite their fondness for wolves and wargs, and the Wolfwere are fond of wolves and wargs, the Wolfwere loathes the company of a werewolf, who is transformed by the moon. In fact, their animosity between those two monsters is so great that they will often attack each other on sight. So if you thought that they would get along, no, they do not. So how do you defeat something like the Wolfwere? Well, cold iron-wrought weapons, enchanted blades, but do not try to use a silvered weapon on them. So if you find yourself swinging a weapon that's silvered and it's not doing anything, you're not dealing with a werewolf, you're dealing with a Wolfwere. And wearing the plant, the wolfsbane, around your neck is probably a good idea, because then you don't even have to fight it. It will probably just avoid you. How to incorporate the Wolfwere in any adventure. I'm going to keep this really simple. A similar plot line or storyline to the werewolf, but instead of basing it around the curse of some kind or the moon and using the moon as a catalyst for transformation, The Wolfwere does not acquire the moon, and it is not a curse. This is just a very peculiar creature that really just messes with the players, frankly. The publication for this thing, it's been actually published in many books. Ravenloft, the Monstrous Compendium, Appendix 3, in Creatures of Darkness. That was in 1994. You'll also find it in the Monstrous Manual of 1993. You'll find a link for that book down in the description if you're interested. The Pools of Darkness, that was in 1992. And then the Monstrous Mythology in 1992 as well also had this book. You can see it was published in a few different books. And then later, well, if we go back even further, it actually, the Monstrous Compendium Volume 1 in 1989, it was published there. And probably the very first publication of the Wolfwere was in the Monster Manual number 2, first edition of Dungeons and Dragons. That would probably, I believe that's the Advanced Dungeons and Dragons first edition. That was back in 1983. So if you're wanting to find some references to this is where you'll probably find it. You will find the original log or information on this monster, a link to it down in the description if you're interested. I'm hoping that this monster sort of allows you a bit of flexibility and an opportunity to kind of mess with your players, confuse them a little bit, because why not? What would be more confusing than to replace the werewolf with a Wolfwere which has different properties and a different nature. So please let me know how you're going to use the Wolfwere or werewolves, or if you like this monster, in the comments section. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.